So today I'm really excited because we're going to talk about de-escalation, which is a technique you can use when kids are being aggressive or violent or they're full on throwing a tantrum. Chances are, if you are tired of their tantrums, so is everybody else. Diana Ross, y'all. You see this hair. Okay, one of the most important things that you can do is pay attention to their triggers. So if you can see that a child is about to go there, try to intervene at what's called the sweet spot. So the sweet spot is when they've been triggered, but they haven't started acting out yet. So if you pay attention to those triggers or to those moments when things are getting escalated, you have the power to teach them self-control and to teach them to self-soothe so that they don't full on rage. So if you see that they're about to go there and you're trying to find that sweet spot and intervene, pay attention to their emotions and ignore their words because they might be yelling and screaming. Pay attention to what their body is doing and what their facial expressions look like, and that will actually tell you a lot about what's going on with them on the inside. Try your best to label that emotion for them. So say things like, it looks like you're angry because your arms are crossed, or it looks like you're sad because you're frowning. That helps them realize, okay, something is going on with me, and you as the parent or the nanny or whoever is looking after them, you help them label that emotion. And in doing this, you validate their feelings and not necessarily their action. Because our knee-jerk reaction is to say, well, stop kicking, stop yelling, stop screaming. But what we really need to do is try and figure out, why are they screaming? Why are they kicking? Why are they yelling? What has caused them to be so upset? Do they even know that this emotion is upset or sad or frustrated? And then you can help them walk through that. So if you don't remember anything else from this video, just remember that their action, whatever it is, tantrum, anger, violence, is directly tied to how they're feeling inside. That is why we want to label their emotions for them until they can do that themselves. So when kids are about to tantrum and they're frustrated and they're angry and violent, that fight or flight sense has been triggered, and it's our job to get them out of that fight or flight mode and into what is called the thinking brain so that they can process their emotions and try their best to make a good choice. One of the techniques is just to be silent. If they are not hurting themselves or they are not hurting someone else or damaging property, it's okay to be silent while they are tantruming. Now, this happens once you've passed that sweet spot. So if you can't bring them down within that sweet spot, they may full on tantrum, kicking and screaming on the floor. It's okay to sit next to them and say, I'm here if you need me, and just be silent. Now, I know this one seems counterintuitive because if they are throwing a tantrum on the floor or they are expressing anger in a way that kind of concerns you, you don't really want to be silent. You want to help them. You want to fix the situation. You want to tell them to stop. But if they're not hurting anyone or anything, sometimes they just need to get that emotion out. They just need to get that anger out. And as long as they know that you are with them, you're sitting close to them, and you are there when they need you, it's okay to be quiet and let them be angry or let them be frustrated. What I always say is, if they say, I'm angry, it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to hurt people and it's not okay to hurt things. The next thing you could do is use a distraction. If they are not full on raging yet, maybe you could tickle them. Sometimes that works. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, they start laughing. They forget all about why they were upset. Another thing you could do is, what color are my eyes? That way, they look up at you, they get your eye contact and say, you know what, I forgot what color my eyes are. Can you look at them and tell me what color they are? So they'll look up at you. Brown. They are brown. Or if you're sitting next to something soft, rub the couch and say, oh, this couch is really soft. Oh, this shirt is really soft. And you know what? It gets them out of that fight or flight, back into that thinking brain. That will help bring them down. Another thing you might need to do is decrease stimulation. If they're playing a video game or they're playing at a friend's house and you see them getting really worked up, you might need to turn the video game off or say, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and go home, or we're gonna go for a walk, or go and blow bubbles. Something that can calm them down, take that stimulation away from them for a few minutes until they can bring themselves back down, and then they can potentially return to it. Unless it's just too stimulating, then just be done with it. Another technique that you can use to de-escalate is deep breathing. So at the bare minimum, teach them to count to 10. In through their nose, out through their mouth, right? So what they're gonna do is, what you wanna tell them is, smell the flower, blow out the candles. Smell the flower, blow out the candles, and count to 10 or 5 or 3 or whatever they can count to. Teach them to relax their body and relax their mind. In addition to deep breathing, you can do yoga with them. If you love yoga, have your kids join you in that. It's very calming, it's good for the body, and if you can start teaching them now how to self-soothe, these are skills they're gonna take with them for the rest of their life. Some quick methods you can use is grab a blanket. If they are crying and they're sad, give them a blanket to help them calm themselves down. Give them a stuffed animal. Those soft things are very comforting for kids. Oh, some kids love hugs, they love cuddles, they love kisses. That may be what they need to help de-escalate the situation. Sometimes, if they're old enough, they can tell you, I need some space. I just need 5 minutes to myself. And guess what? That's okay. Let them have a few minutes to themselves. That may be a technique that they have learned and that works for them. So we've talked about all the things you can do. Let's talk really quickly about kind of the things to avoid that will actually cause more frustration for them and for you. The first thing you want to avoid is making demands. So avoiding making demands is really hard because if they're doing something you don't want them to do, the first thing you want to say is, stop doing that, stop kicking, stop yelling. But instead what you want to do is listen to what they're saying and pay really close attention to their body language. So here's what you're going to do. Try one of these techniques, whichever one works for you, or if you have more techniques, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And then once they've calmed down, maybe they're playing outside or you guys sit down at the table and you're playing with Play-Doh or drawing a picture, what you want to do is say, hey, do you remember earlier when you were really upset and you were throwing yourself on the floor and you slammed the door because you were angry? Wait for their head nod. Wait for their eye contact with you, and they may look up at you and say, yeah, I remember. So that's the time for you to tell them, well, let's find a better way to express our emotions. Next time, let's try this instead, right? Because now they can hear you. Now they can process what you're saying. When they're in a full-on tantrum, they're not listening to anything you say. So be silent, sit next to them, let them calm themselves, give them a teddy bear, anything but making demands, because it's not gonna work. If you're like me, when I'm upset and somebody's saying, calm down, you're fine, that doesn't work for me. Until I have calmed myself down, I really can't hear anything anybody else is saying. So once they've calmed down and you're sharing this stuff with them, you can express how you feel also without hurting them or without yelling at them. So once everybody's calm, that's the best time to talk about expectations and different ways to handle the situation the next time it comes up. Okay, this one is a freebie. Now, we have all been in the store and heard a kid having a tantrum, yelling and screaming and throwing themselves on the floor. If you're the parent or the person taking care of that child, please feel free to remove that kid from the store, go to your car, let them have their tantrum. Once they calm down, you can say, okay, now we will re-enter the store. I promise you, it is okay to do that. If you gotta push your cart to the side, scoop them up and go outside, that is perfectly fine. In addition to that, if we are going to set them up for success, let's talk to them about expectations in the store before we get there. That way, they know what you expect of them. They're in their thinking brain, they can listen and they can process. So usually what I do is say, what do we do when we go in the store? And they say, we stay with mommy, we hold on to the card, we don't run all over the store, we use our inside voice. That's right, okay? So they know what's expected of them before they go in the store. That don't mean they ain't gonna have no tantrum, y'all. They still gonna have a tantrum, okay? It's inevitable. At that point, take them out of the store if you need to, and just deal with it in the car, and then take them back inside. We've all heard it said, well, kids will be kids. Yes, they will be kids. That does not mean we let them do whatever they want to do. As their guardian, their parent, their nanny, whatever your title, it is your job to put up guardrails for them, to set up expectations for them, and to help guide them in the right direction. If you love them, if you care for them, you will put up guardrails for them, you will set expectations for them, and you will help them walk through these tantrums.